So I was looking over my Leanybot video, and among being one of the most viewed videos I've ever made, the dislike rate was unbelievably high. I expected this, but I was hoping that there would be some good, solid arguments against what I said, but sadly, most weren't. Don't get me wrong, a few brought up good points that I could have argued better, but most focused on one simple thing. I did not use her pronouns. This just pissed everyone off, to the point where most people said that I had good arguments or that they agreed with me, but since I didn't use they/them pronouns, the whole video was invalid to them. This is just crazy to me, and I don't understand why so many people have been brainwashed into thinking this is a normal and valid way of living and identifying. The truth is that non-binary does not exist, and before you get angry and call me transphobic or some other buzzword, why don't you listen to some of the facts and arguments I provide? The first point is science. We all know that there are only two genders. Those who believe in more are simply trying to be accepting and are too scared to call people out. Lucky for you, I'm not one of those people. I disagree with this delusion, so I will have no problem explaining why. Yes, gender and sex are different. As a conservative, I will admit that, but both relate to your genitals and biology. Women have XX chromosomes and men have XY chromosomes. Women have vaginas and men have penises. People confuse gender identity with gender itself, and something I have to make very clear is that being transgender is different than being an alleged non-binary person. Transgender people are proof of two genders. They have an unfortunate mental illness that binds them to an unhappy life unless they switch from the gender they were born as to the gender that they want to be. They can switch from either female to male or male to female. Non-binary people are people that claim to not be either gender, or in some cases both genders. This of course is a completely ridiculous notion, and why so many people blindly support it, I have no idea. Another relevant point is intersex people. Whenever somebody calls out non-binary for what it is, fake, they always pull the argument of intersex people, and the truth is intersex people are not proof of a third gender, but that of an abnormality. Intersex people are people that were born to not fit into the gender binary, so that entails a girl with testicles or a man with breasts. This isn't an identity that they use to get attention, but it's a medical condition. It's classified as a birth defect, and about 1 in 2,000 people are born with this. But these people still appear male or female, and most of them try to live out their lives resembling the gender that they look most like.
Raise your hands if you have testes.
I have XY chromosomes, but typical female genitalia.
I'm a girl who has testes and XY chromosomes.
Often intersex people get surgeries that they don't want, and transgender people have to fight for surgeries that they do want.
My next point is of course attention. Don't get me wrong, this is America, the greatest and freest country in the world. It's my belief that everyone has the right to happiness. For this reason, you can identify as whatever you want, because gender identity and gender expression are two totally different things. Gender itself is what you are, and your gender identity is how you see yourself. So when I was a kid, this girl would be a tomboy, but now she most likely identifies as a trans man, gender fluid, or non-binary. Times are changing, and we are starting to accept the odd ones out. And though that's not necessarily a bad thing, I think we should draw a thick line between what is okay and what is delusional. We can't just accept certain things and let other things pass. Acceptance is a good thing, but in today's society, it's a slippery slope. If we accept everything without proof or logic, where do we draw the line? We're just going to accept bestiality? Pedophilia? If a 16-year-old said that they identify as a 21-year-old to get alcohol, and we accepted it and let her into a bar, we are denying truth and logic. It doesn't matter that she identifies as a 21-year-old. She can identify as any age she wants, but we know for a fact that she is 16, and she does not get the same rights that a 21-year-old gets. At some point, we have to call out delusions, and I understand it's scary, but in the end, you're doing them a favor. It's very easy to get caught up in mob mentality and blindly follow trends and fads. But it's really hard to stand up and be the one to put your foot down and say, no, this is not reality, I do not agree with this. And sometimes that's just what you have to do. It's also ironic that these people literally make their identity everything. Like, it's in all of their bios, all of their posts, and all of their comments. It is the first thing they want you to know about them. And if I'm being honest, that's really sad. If your alleged gender is the only interesting thing about you, I'm sorry, but your life really sucks. You should get a hobby other than protesting Trump. And the third reason why non-binary doesn't exist is because of politics. I have never met someone who identifies as non-binary either in person or online who is not a leftist, who is not a young, politically involved middle-class millennial. These people use their identities to simply get attention or validation in the realm of politics, because they are bored and victim status is a very valuable currency nowadays. Because if they identify as non-binary, they are no longer privileged young Americans. They are now oppressed because they identify with an LGBT group that is marginalized and ignored by society, and that's what they want, even though it is accepted. Even some of my fans were telling me that they agreed with my video, but not to disrespect Lainey and use the correct pronouns. And yes, guys, I did not use her pronouns on purpose. I do not respect her. I think she is going through a phase, and I will not cater to her delusion, because I know that that will only hinder her. My policy for gendering people is, and has always been, if you pass or I respect you, I will use the correct pronouns. Look at Blair White, for example. If I saw her walking down the street, I would call her a she. Blair White looks 100% female and has been diagnosed with gender dysphoria and has medically transitioned. She will unfortunately always be a biological boy, but she has done all she can to look how she feels on the inside, and for that, I can respect her. And something I've noticed is that non-binary people are like transgenders who are too scared to commit to transitioning. You can't just lack masculinity or femininity and claim it to be a new gender. So no, I will not recognize your gender if you are not confident in it yourself. Another point is the amount of language policing that these people enforce is ridiculous.
My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and that's a non-negotiable. Laverne Cox kind of famously said, misgendering a trans person is an act of violence. And it is. It's an act of psychological violence. It's a denial of somebody's personhood and a complete refusal to acknowledge their identity, whether intentional or not.
My identity, although you can't see it, still needs to be validated just as much as you would validate the fact that I have 5 fingers or 5 toes.
Callan Lord strives to be a welcoming environment for all. Using the correct pronoun has the power to change the game.
And is a step towards creating a supportive and respectful atmosphere.
Her,
sie,
they,
she,
them.
My pronouns are he, him, and his, and she, her, and hers.
Pronouns matter because people matter.
Pronouns are as diverse as our community.
Pronouns are as fluid as gender and sexual orientation.
Today my pronoun is they. Tomorrow, it could be different, and it's who I am.
The Pronouns Matter campaign is one step Callan Lord is taking to continue improving the environment for all of our patients and to help get the word out that pronouns matter.
Her, him,
she,
hers,
he.
My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and they, them, and theirs.
Using a person's correct pronoun is a sign of respect.
Everyone deserves to be respected.
Everyone deserves to matter.
Employees wear buttons to help people around them use the correct pronouns.
Now, patients can use pronoun stickers to make sure people are using the correct pronouns.
So, the next time you're at Callan Lord,
grab a sticker and tell us your pronoun.
Let the world know that your pronouns matter.
And show people that they matter by using their correct pronouns.
Because pronouns matter.
Pronouns matter.
Pronouns matter.
Pronouns matter.
Pronouns matter.
And I matter.
Non-binary.
We're expected to act a certain way based on what's between our legs. But that actually isn't true for everyone.
It totally ignores the huge and amazing world of people who are trans and gender diverse.
Transgender.
It might be a new word to get used to, but it helps avoid a contrast of trans people and normal people.
I identify as a queer, gender non-conforming intersex person.
I identify as a Black intersex man.
Hey guys, I'm non-binary. I don't have a gender.
I don't identify as being a female or a male, kind of gender neutral, somewhere in the middle of those two things, but neither one or the other. I usually prefer they, them pronouns.
My pronoun is he, and I present as a he. Some trans people might look like me and present as a she.
Recently, I've come across they, and I like they. So you can refer to me either as she or they. I found out about gender non-specific pronouns ze and here, and I thought that was funny. That makes people trip up, because really, technically, I'm not a she. I'm not a he either.
If you're unsure about somebody's pronoun, pull them aside and ask, hey, what are your pronouns?
You can avoid mistakes by just saying them, theirs, they.
Their gender is still valid regardless of whether or not you understand it.
My pronouns are she, her, they, them, and I identify as gray gender.
Cool, I didn't know that. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a Libra. I'm just gonna go with straight. And I identify as gender neutral or non-binary. Either one.
My favorite label right now is genderqueer, and I'm also definitely questioning, but other words I'm experimenting with are non-binary, gender expansive, gender fluid, and demi-girl.
No one should care this much about how people refer to you as. Do you see what I mean? This is their whole life. They want everyone to know, and they want to make it as big a deal as they can. LGBT activists are now even pushing for misgendering to count as violence. The truth is that they have really boring lives and everything is far too easy for them, so now they need to create this delusion to see if they can get people to go along with it, and if not, they can sue them and throw a fit. I don't know why they can't just live their lives as fully as possible without forcing people to change their language just for them. And the final reason is that it does affect us. Anytime you criticize anything gender-related, people attack you with things like, "Why do you care?" or "It doesn't affect you," or "Let them live their lives." And yes, I will let them live their lives, but it 100% does affect us, and I'll tell you why. It's not honest. It creates a dishonest society. If anyone can be anything without reason or proof, that's not honest. If this is pushed on our youth, we will see more of this, and the identities will just get crazier and crazier. And since all of us are expected to blindly follow this like sheep, we will. And we will no longer have any perception of what is reality and what is fantasy. It will hurt our community if no one is honest about who they are anymore. These are just my thoughts on non-binary and why I think it's not real. Please feel free to comment whether you disagree or agree and why. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.